Man, Chester just laid into those vocals there. That was awesome. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be listening to the album Meteora by Linkin Park. Now, so far in Linkin Park's discography, I have only heard their first studio album, Hybrid Theory, which I really loved. It had so much punchy energy with it, paired with a sort of electronic style as well. And you all have kept saying in the comments that Meteora is also a must listen, that it has some fantastic tracks on it. They released it 3 years after Hybrid Theory, so we'll see if it kind of has a similar sound. And yeah, let's dive right on into my reaction to Meteora. Alright, so starting this album off is track 1, which is called Foreword. Okay, I guess that's just going to transition right into the second track here. I'm just going to let it keep playing. Yeah, right off the bat here, definitely a similar tone to Hybrid Theory. There's like this really repetitive, subtle beeping going on in the background. Sometimes I just feel like screaming at myself. I don't need you anymore. They do a great job of almost isolating their songs, and then when the energy comes in, it's like a bubble bursting, if that makes sense. That was track 1, Foreword, and then track 2, Don't Stay. I would say Foreword is kind of just like a little 13-second introduction into the album, and it just flowed right into track 2. Really interesting though, how it started out with, it sounded almost like a hammer banging on something and maybe some rainfall going on in the background, just a very ambient beginning to that album. And then Don't Stay came in with such a punch of energy. I didn't notice like the hip-hop style as much coming through on that one, so I'm wondering if on Meteora, maybe they go more in like a rock/metal direction with their sound. I don't know, we'll have to see. But continuing on with track 3, we have Somewhere I Belong. Such a gentle beginning to that one. I really liked the start there. I've definitely heard this song. This part here is very familiar. I love how tender this song is, weirdly. Even though it has this punchier chorus and these subtle like electronic and hip-hop elements coming in, they're just keeping it very soft in a way too. Well, that was track 3, Somewhere I Belong. I guess I have heard a track off of Meteora because I've definitely heard that one before. I just really enjoyed how gentle that song was though. It kind of lined up with the lyrics too, how he was talking about wanting to heal from something. And there was something almost soothing about that track, even though lyrically it was kind of dark and a bit despondent. Moving on to track 4 is Lying From You. What was that at the start? It sounded like a weird kind of electronic violin or something. Everything is what I want it to be. I look exactly like what you had always wanted to see. No, I can, but I can't pretend this is the way it'll stay. Lying my way from you. The very worst part of you is me. All of these effects that they're doing are so interesting. Now you think this person really is me, and I'm trying to bend my way from you. I love when this chorus comes in with such a punch. The very worst part man, Chester just laid into those vocals there. That was awesome. That was track 4, Lying From You. Man, that one was just a lot going on with the effects and everything at the beginning. I don't even know what that instrument was, or if it was some sort of just electronic noise they were doing, and just a lot of punchiness too, especially on the chorus. It's kind of deceiving though, because lyrically that was actually a really dark track. He was essentially talking about like how much he hates himself, like a lot of self-loathing, and kind of how he feels as if he's pulling someone else down and he's the worst part of their life. Like, it's just a really contradictory song in that sense. It's really fun sonically. There's all of this stuff going on, and then lyrically it's just really, really dark. But moving on to track 5 is Hit the Floor. I love that really, really subtle electronic tone going on.
Too many times that I've held on when I needed to push away. The upper hand is mine. 1 minute you're on top. Mission 9, watch it drop. Gone. So many like me.
Yeah, what I said earlier about maybe Meteora going away from the hip-hop style a bit, never mind. This track is definitely bringing that back into the forefront.
And then it's all gone. Now it's all gone. I know I'll never trust a single thing you say.
This is actually a really minimalistic track. Like, instrumentally, there's not a ton going on.
And then it's all gone.
Right, we had some glitching and weird effects there at the very end, but that was track 5, Hit the Floor. Certainly a pretty heavy hip-hop style to that one. It had this really great pocket kind of that the sound fell into, but I loved how that song would have these isolated pockets of that hip-hop style, and then all of a sudden that chorus would come in. It's so contradictory, but yet they somehow make them fit really well together. I think it's so cool how Linkin Park does that. But I'm going to move on to track 6, which is called Easier to Run.
It's easier to run all alone.
Wow, right off the bat, this one has kind of a different sound to it. Previously on this album, it's kind of sounded more enclosed, a little bit more sterile almost, and I don't know, there's kind of an expansive quality to this one at the start.
Trace every wrong move that I made. I would if I could stand up and take the blame. I would.
I love the vocals here.
It's easier to run. Face all this pain. You're all alone.
Sometimes I think of letting go and never looking back.
Trace every wrong move that I made. I would if I could stand up and take the blame. I would.
I absolutely love how they're doing that. You've got Mike on these verses with kind of this very subtle, like melodic hip hop style going on. And then there's that vocal layering they do that slowly brings Chester's voice in on the chorus.
It's easier to run. I would take all my shame to the grave.
Well, that was track 6, Easier to Run. I absolutely loved that song. It had this amazing openness to it. Like, especially right at the start, it didn't have as much of that electronic kind of almost futuristic style that they do. And again, lyrically, just a very sad, despondent song. Like he was saying how much it's easier to go than staying here and facing all of the pain. Almost disturbingly prophetic with how I know Chester's life ends later on in their career. But sonically, I just loved how smooth and open that song sounded. Up next is track 7, which is called Faint.
A little bit of disregard.
This, again, like electronic sounding violin in the background is so strange.
'Cause you're all that I got. I can't face the way I did before. Sometimes I don't make sense. I am what you never want to say.
Similar to what they were doing at times on Hybrid Theory too, I keep picking up on that subtle glitching that they introduce on certain words.
I won't be
like a bomb going off. It goes from such this minimalistic beeping tone, and then it just blasts in your face all of a sudden, all this energy. That was track 7, Faint. Such a fun one sonically. All of that electronic stuff going on was just crazy. But then that chorus just came in with such a burst of energy. It really created such a cool contrast with the more minimalistic, modern sounding verse. But moving on to track 8 is Figure 09 or Figure .09. I don't know how to say it. Instead of setting it free. I loved how on the word free just there was that little bit of glitching.
I let myself become you. I see you in every thought I had, and then the thoughts slowly found words attached to them.
There's something kind of atmospheric about this track, just a little bit. There's like this echoiness that they're doing.
And now you become a part of me. Never goes away. Get away from me. Give me my space back. You gotta just.
That was track 8, Figure .09, I'll call it. Again, I love how subtle they keep their effects and everything. Like sometimes they bring them out and they make them more prominent on certain tracks, but with that one, it was a very like punchy, more metal sounding song, but there's just these tiny little things they fuse on, like the glitching effects and the slight echoiness that just gives it this, again, really futuristic tone. Moving on to track 9 is Breaking the Habit. I love the percussion on this one. It's got such a unique tone to it. Okay, I think I've heard this one too. Apparently I've heard more songs off of Meteora than I thought I had. I love how smooth and drawn out his vocals are here on the chorus, but in the background, there's that glitchiness and this kind of quick, sharp percussion. It's like a lot of sharpness in the background, but then the smoothness is kind of layered on top of that. That was track 9, Breaking the Habit. Like I said, that one was vaguely reminiscent there on the chorus. I know I've heard that one. It must be on the radio or somewhere before. I love how smooth that chorus is though. His voice on that one is just very silky in a way, even though he's bringing such an impact to it. And lyrically, there's a lot of emotion that he's delivering with his voice. It's just done in a really beautiful way on that song. But up next is track 10, which is called From the Inside. Based on the start of that song, I wasn't expecting the vocals to be this kind of melodic sounding.
Take so much out of me. Take everything. I won't trust myself with you. Heavy thoughts forcing their way out of me.
There's something about this track, I feel like I'm floating in this little bubble. It's got a really light quality to it.
Trying to put my trust in you just takes so much out of me.
And then the bubble is popped right there. And all the heaviness comes in and you're just crashing down to earth.
I won't waste myself on you. Take everything from the inside you.
That was track 10, From the Inside. I absolutely loved that one. They were doing so many change-ups with the vocal style and everything. How you had that really soft melodic touch on the verses, just such a gentleness to that song. And then the chorus was anything but gentle. They just brought such a force field of energy coming at you. Moving on to track 11 is Nobody's Listening.
Yo, peep the style and the kids checking for it. The number one question is how could you ignore it?
Okay, I got some rapping with a flute going on.
Get dirty with the people spreading the dirt. It goes. Try to give you warning. Heart full of pain, head full of stress, hand full of anger held in my chest.
I love the percussion just there.
Told you everything loud and clear, but nobody's listening.
Yeah, and on the chorus here, there's a pounding quality to the percussion too. It's got this sort of staticiness to it.
Try to give you warning. Nobody's listening. Coming at you from every side.
That was track 11, Nobody's Listening. Sonically, definitely a slightly different one from the rest of this album. It went very heavy-handed with the more hip-hop style. You had that flute, which was light and airy and kind of brought this more hopeful tone to the song. And then that percussion was just really fuzzy and dense, and it brought the song down a bit. And just such contrasting elements yet again with that one. But I'm going to move along to track 12, which is called Session. This is a cool one. It's got a very atmospheric quality to it. It sounds like a gunshot just there. Yeah, they're kind of sprinkling in this piano from time to time, which gives it these little bursts of a melodic touch, but then it's very heavy-handed with all this glitchiness and electronic noise. That was track 12, Session, a purely instrumental one. It kind of reminded me of the song Cure for the Itch on Hybrid Theory. How again, that one was entirely instrumental, almost like an interlude style break on the album. But I am curious to see how Meteora is going to end, so I'm going to move on to track 13, which is called Numb. I've definitely heard this.
Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface in your shoes.
Again, there's that piano, kind of like what they were doing on the last track. They're bringing that into this one here.
I've become so numb, I can't feel you there and be less like you.
Can't you see that you're smothering me?
Yeah, lyrically, this whole album is definitely dealing with trying to detach himself from either someone else or another aspect of his personality.
And I know I may end up.
Chester really does have this amazing ability with his voice where he brings so much visceral intensity to it, but it still retains this soft quality too.
And be less like you. I've become so numb.
Well, that was track 13, Numb. I've definitely heard that song many, many times before. I guess I just never connected that it was Linkin Park. Just lyrically, such an impactful track, and sonically, just fusing everything that I love about Linkin Park and what they do with their music. You had like those glitchy effects and the futuristic tones, but then I love the infusion of that piano too. Again, just bringing a softer touch to that song. Well, that is going to conclude my reaction to Meteora, the second studio album from Linkin Park. I would say sonically, it's definitely in line with their first album, Hybrid Theory. There were a lot of similarities there, just in how they would fuse those heavier rock and metal elements with Chester's voice, but then they would bring in those modern, more hip-hop style sounds that just kind of give their music this futuristic tone. I really enjoyed track 3, Somewhere I Belong. That one almost had a bit of a gentleness to it that I liked. And then track 4, Lying From You, just was so experimental. They brought some crazy sounds to that one. And track 6, Easier to Run, and track 10, From the Inside, were both standouts as well. Those two just had this really big, open, soaring sound to them, and Chester's voice was so smoothly delivered. Just really, really beautiful tracks. But this whole album was absolutely fantastic. So much emotion poured into it. Definitely let me know in the comments if you want me to continue on with their albums here on my channel. And yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.